All right, good afternoon and welcome to the 257th episode of the Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we're going to be joined by Mount Pisgah head coach Ryan Livezey and also Jordan Dubrof. We got a lot to talk about, and Coach Livezey is ready to go, so let's go ahead and jump right on it. All right, Coach, so first I want to congratulate you. You were named the Athletic Director of the Year. So I know you've dealt with trying to get the roster numbers up on football, but I mean that's a big accomplishment, overseeing the Mount Pisgah athletic program, high school, middle school, all those different teams. Just talk about winning that award.
Well, tremendous honor. But as I tell people, really I have a lot of great coaches and a lot of dedicated kids that um, make my job a lot easier. Um, but no, any chance anytime you're recognized by your peers, um, it's special, and especially for me, where I don't know that I ever had a career goal to be an athletic director. Um, I think in my mind, I was just going to be a football coach, and had the opportunity, um, 5 years ago to take the AD role here at Mount Pisgah, and our administration had some faith in me, and I've just been very fortunate. And again, it comes down to the people you're able to work with and making your job a lot easier.
100%. It's definitely a group effort. So, have you been the AD? Is this going to be going on 6 years?
This will be my sixth year. Yes.
6 year. Okay. And then I was looking at, so yeah, you were one of 8 athletic directors, one from each classification to get it. And then you also, are you the a region secretary for, I guess, would it be
I,
all of Class A Division One?
no, so in each region, there's going to be a region president, a vice president, a secretary, all that. Mike Emery is actually the president for our region over at Paideia. I'm the vice president this year. Um, so, I basically it's a figurehead job. If something were to happen to Mike, then I could step in. But there's we're very lucky. A lot of really good ads in our region. Um, it's again, it's similar to winning the award. I mean, when you're in a region with people that really take their job seriously and do a good job, it makes things run a lot more smoothly. Um, I and I it would be it wouldn't I do need to say, also our school won the Directors Cup this year for the first time ever, overall Directors Cup, and that is really a tribute to our coaches. That's the first time Mount Pisgah's ever won that, and our girls sports won it outright. The combined boys and girls, we were the overall winner. But it was really, last year was a special year for Mount Pisgah. I think it ended up that we had 4 teams that did not make the playoffs at all. Everybody else made it to the second round or further. So
That's yeah,
it
that's
was
really
quite a year.
exciting. Yeah, and I remember you guys did great in wrestling, obviously baseball. The basketball teams were outstanding. Obviously going up against quality competition as well. Just from your athletic director role, though, how have the kind of middle school programs grown and progressed kind of in the last few years? How has that set Mount Pisgah up to just be a successful and consistent program?
Well, I mean, it one of our big things here is, and kind of our messaging as a school is, we want our middle school kids to try a lot of different things, to try sports they've never tried. We give out an Iron Patriot Award each year, and that's basically for the kids that play all 3 seasons. And in middle school, we typically have 70 to 100 kids out of our entire middle school, which is maybe 200 and 230, 240 kids that are doing 3 seasons. Um, and obviously when you get to high school, it becomes more difficult because of the time commitment and the academic piece. But it's really trying to get kids to do something and get involved. And, philosophically, middle school should be about kind of the exploration. And, it's great if our middle school teams win their league championship, but that's not really what we're trying to promote. We want the kids to, to get a little bit better at the skill, to understand the game, and really to enjoy it. And hopefully they come back and play when they do get to high school.
Absolutely. And yeah, winning the Directors Cup is such a huge accomplishment. It's a big deal when parents are thinking about what school their kids are going to go to. Being able to say that your school, your program had the best overall success for an entire school year in terms of athletics, that's huge. And what is it like, though, with these middle schoolers? Because I know you guys have some really promising athletes coming up, but it seems like Mount Pisgah is willing to let them play multiple sports and just kind of let them pick and choose what fits them best.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key is, outside of school, a lot of times there's a lot of pressure from whether it be club, AAU, travel teams that are telling these kids, oh, well, if you want to be really good or you want to play in college, you need to play this sport year round. Um, I graduated from Norcross High School back in the late 80s, and I went from fall to winter to spring in sports. And you really didn't have those outside pressures. Now, the reality is, because of the GHSA calendar, it becomes really hard for a kid to play a fall, a winter, and a spring sport anymore. Um, you can fall and spring are pretty simple, but there's such an overlap between fall and winter, and then winter and spring. So really, you're seeing so many of the winter athletes kind of having to choose. Now, we were fortunate with our other varsity coaches that, we had probably 10 guys that were wrestlers on our football team this year. And, I worked with the wrestling coach because I needed them for football. And, maybe a much younger Ryan Livezey as a head football coach would have said, well, it's football season, you can't do anything else. Well, we've got 300 kids in the high school. I need them all out there. If I'm going to make them choose, a lot of them are going to choose not to play. And, so from scaling that back to the middle school, we don't put a whole lot of emphasis in the fall sports. We kind of limit the number of games they're going to play. So when, the middle school winter sports are starting in November or late October, they're already done with their fall sport and they can go on to it. And again, that I think goes back to, we don't hang middle school banners in our gym. That's not our goal. We want them to compete, to play, learn about sports, and hopefully come back the next year and keep playing them.
Yes, and I know when we talked last year, I think it might have been the 2021-2020 season, you were talking just about the number of kids you had on your roster. It was like 27, 28. I look at you guys heading
Right.
into this year. I mean, the amount of kids that are earning scholarships to play football, some are even playing football and baseball. Talk about just the growth you've seen from that aspect, kids coming through the Mount Pisgah program and being able to earn these scholarships at a way greater rate just based on the numbers.
Well, and I think that goes back to looking at your varsity coaches really as program directors, right? They're not just the varsity team coach. They need to be thinking about those kids in fifth and sixth grade or those kids in seventh and eighth grade. What do we need to do so that they're having a good experience so that they continue to play? So I think over the last few years, we've really put an emphasis with our head coaches on, developing and putting more into the youth programs, and that it's a great thing. And we're seeing the numbers start to come up, but it is a slow process. It's when I took over as head coach, I reorganized all the football programs and put different people in place and really took a hard look at what we were doing. And so, this year, I think this year, or maybe even it was last year, those are the first kids to come out of uh, that reformatted program. And those are our largest classes, our freshman and sophomore class. This year, I think we have 43 kids on the roster. 26 of them are either freshmen or sophomores. Now, that, hopefully that tells us down the road, if we can continue that trend, our rosters in high school are going to continue to grow. But there is that lag time kind of that you got to, it's kind of the balance, because those kids we have, those young kids, are going to be really good players, but just a lot of them right now maybe aren't ready to step on the field or on the court with a 17 or 18-year-old kid from another school. So there is that kind of challenging time between when you've done all the work at the middle school level until you can start to see the results. And now, you mentioned the college signees, and we've, again, a school of right around 300 kids that we've consistently had, whether, 10 to 15 kids sign to go play college sports. And, in this year's class, we had a kid, one of our track athletes went to the SEC. We've had one of our football players is going to the Ivy Leagues. I mean, 2 years ago, we had another football player go to the SEC. So we're seeing the colleges, whether it be the major powers or the Ivy Leagues or even Division III, they're coming to the school, and our kids are getting an opportunity to continue playing.
Yeah, and I think it's so important because you guys are located around some really good high schools. You got Johns Creek down the street, so it's about what you guys are offering. I'm looking at some of your kids on their Twitters, what their GPAs are. It's really impressive. I'm sure you have stats just in terms of what the team GPA is, how they're handling themselves in the classroom. But talk a little bit about that, just with Dr. Chris Harmon, the school in general, and just how Mount Pisgah is able to really offer these kids an opportunity to play competitively, play against great competition, but also have that success in the classroom where they are athletes that are getting opportunities at the next level and at the Ivies.
Well, I think some of that comes from just educating them on what recruiting is. And the honest truth is, in the last 3 to 4 years, college recruitment has changed dramatically, be it COVID, be it the transfer portal, NIL, all those things. What we tell our kids is, listen, for most sports, and probably football is one of the last ones where the colleges are really still coming to the high school coach to ask about the kids. But what we're telling them is, listen, the better your grades are, the more opportunities you're going to have. If you're a great player, you're going to get noticed because, again, most of these sports now have travel or club or AAU where these college coaches are going to. In football specifically, the coaches that are going to come on our campus, they're already going to have seen the kids through Huddle or their highlights somewhere, or they've gone to their camp. And so what they're going to come on campus and ask us about is, what type of kids are there? What is their character like? Can I get their transcript? We get a lot, because of the type of school we are, we get a good number of high academic schools that come by. And the toughest thing is when you have a student athlete who could play at that school, but, you have to say, Coach, I don't know that you're going to be able to recruit them, knowing your academic requirements. And so it is this constant thing of us talking to our student athletes about the importance of academics and how that allows you to have the maximum amount of opportunities when you're looking at colleges. And the one nice thing about being a smaller school is our class size, right? That there's nowhere to hide in the classroom. When you're in a classroom that the largest class we have may have 20, 21 kids in it. Well, the teacher is going to know everybody in that classroom. They're going to know who's doing their work, who's not doing their work. Is there something going on? So there's really no place to hide. And when I'm sure I was the same way when I was high school. Sometimes you're just lazy and you don't get stuff done. But that gets noticed. And we one of my assistant ads, we check in both at the middle school level and the high school level with our administration on where kids are academically, how are they doing in their classes. And it's honestly it's a tough thing, but we will pull kids off the team until they get their grades up. If a kid's at a certain point, we have to sit them down and we'll talk to them and talk to their parents and let them know, until your grades go up, we're going to pull you off this team, because ultimately you're a student first. That's why you're here. The playing the sports is really an extra thing.
100%. And yeah, it's especially important just like early in the school year, getting on top of it early, not digging yourself in a hole. So I'm sure you guys will be on them. When was your first day of school?
We start actually next Thursday.
That's right. Next Thursday. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the team, though. You guys had another great season last year. You got that big win over Fellowship to start things off. I'm sure the region was a little new last year. I was looking at it.
Right.
Some really great competition, but who are you excited about this year just to lead you guys? Let's start with the offense.
Okay. Well, we actually have, we have Brandon Bostic, who's coming back. He's our running back. This will be his third year as a starter. Chip Scarborough, Chip came in last year and kind of was a backup at offensive tackle, ended up starting about half of our games. He's really worked hard in the offseason. He this summer late spring picked up his first offer from a D3 school. But I think he's been one of the leaders. We had Johnny Stevens. Johnny played primarily corner for us last year, but is going to make the move. He's going to play corner still, but he's going to make the move over and be a slot receiver for us. Ian White. Ian came over to us from Marist. They moved into our area, and he's been working at quarterback and, spent a lot of time this summer learning the playbook and building some relationships with the guys, and I think is starting to get comfortable. And trying to think, Hunter Gruby. Hunter is a junior guard. This will be his second year as a starter. Much different player than last year, much more confident, bigger, stronger. Josh Brennan played last year for us and will come back and this year be our starter at center. Our right tackle, Zed Ahmed. Zed started some games last year, ended up tearing his ACL partway through the season, has just gotten cleared. So, up front, we probably have the most experience we've had in a long time. I would like to think that that's going to be one of our strengths this year. Probably, we had 16 seniors last year. So most of those guys were starters. And so it's a lot of new people who played, but there's a big difference between being the guy that comes in for a play or two and the guy that starts the game. So, I guess my thing is how quickly are they going to acclimate to being the guy on the field?
That's right. And you guys will have, I believe, 7 non-region games, some great competition to prepare you guys. Talk a little bit about Ian, though, coming over for Marist, stepping in for Jackson Doya. Had one of the best seasons in the state last year. I was impressed not only with his passing, he was a tremendous athlete, could scramble, run the ball. So how does Ian's skill set give you guys kind of a similar look in terms of the balance this year?
Well, the one nice thing about our offense is even before Jackson Doya, Coleman Smith, who was our quarterback. Coleman was more of a pocket passer. Jack obviously was just a tremendous athlete and could do a lot of different things. Ian is kind of in between the two of them. We know he can run the ball because Marist obviously is a triple option team, but he also can throw the ball. I think some of it's going to be kind of a feeling out process. We've never seen him play in a game. Um, so in our offense, the better the quarterback is as a runner, the more things we can do with that guy as a running back. But if it ends up that they're not as strong as a runner, we can become more of a pocket passing team. That's where the benefit of having a little bit more experience on the offensive line helps you out. Um, but like I said, Ian has done a good job this summer. He's picked up the offense, which I'm sure is very different from what he's used to over at Marist. And if you're coming from a run first system where now all of a sudden you're in a pass first system, it is a big leap. And for me personally, who from my years coaching at Holy Innocents, was a run first offensive coordinator to now it's a pass first type of an offense. It's a change, but it's an offense that I really like. And, we've stolen a lot of things from a lot of different programs. There's air raid principles in it. There's just spread offense. So it's taking things that really fit our kids. And then, I think the biggest thing is not trying to put a round peg in a square hole or vice versa. But it's figuring out what you do of your offense that those kids do best and then sticking with that.
That's right. And so, are you guys going to scrimmage? I'm looking at the sheet. It actually has 2 matchups, so I know you guys aren't doing 2 scrimmages
No,
one day. Is it Landmark
no,
or
we're,
Providence?
we're going to Providence next Friday.
Okay. And so that's probably a good opportunity. You said you haven't seen Ian in a game, but just to see how
Right.
he goes out there, um, looks like that's going to be kind of a key dress rehearsal for you guys just right before the season.
No, I absolutely, and I've talked to the coach over at Providence, and I think they're kind of in the situation we were in last year, where they have I think 15 or 16 seniors. They've got some experienced guys. Um, it's going to be a challenge to go out there for our guys that haven't gotten a lot of live reps. Um, and but it also will be a great opportunity for our guys to that haven't played as much to get out there and go against some other really good players. But for Ian specifically, it's probably the most important thing is to after the scrimmage to really look at the film
Yep.
and talk about what we did well, what we didn't do well. The reality is you learn a lot more from your mistakes than you do from what you did well. And not that I want us to make mistakes, but that's going to happen. And that'll be a good opportunity for us to really get with them in meetings and have the film up and talk about what we did wrong on this, what we can do better, where we should be looking, all those types of things. And one other guy that's going to step in and help. We had another guy move into our area, Ryan Dean. Ryan is going to be a junior. He was at Cambridge last year. He's played some quarterback and is kind of repping at quarterback and receiver for us. The reality with our offense is your quarterback's going to get hit. You're going to throw the ball 30, 35, 40 times in a game. He's going to get hit, and you're going to ask him to run as well. So, the big thing for us is having someone else who can step in, and we don't have to change the offense.
Yep. And so, yeah, that'll be a big scrimmage. You guys obviously had that huge matchup against Fellowship. You guys are familiar with them. That'll be a really big test. Let's talk about the defense, though. You had the 16 seniors last year. Obviously, some underclassmen are going to be stepping up. Is it Praise Chain? Is that how you say it?
Praise Chain, yes, sir.
Chain. Yeah, I know he's going to being underclassmen that's stepping into the spotlight this year. Who are some other guys that you've seen a little bit from, but you're really going to be looking for them to come out and just handle the pressure?
Well, Praise started for us last year as a ninth grader, and at times looked great, and at other times looked like a ninth grader. He's the youngest of three brothers that have all played for us, and Praise may be the most athletic of the three. And I'm sure his older two brothers, if they hear that, will be unhappy. But he's a great athlete and can make plays, and we'll use him some on offense too. Jack Garver. Jack played outside linebacker for us last year, probably will play inside this year. Jack's another tremendous player. Jack is a guy that late last season started outside linebacker. We didn't use him much on offense. We got in the playoffs and we started using him some and made some really big plays for us in the playoffs. One of our best lacrosse players decided to come out and play football for us this year, John Hicks, who, is going to play college lacrosse, but he's a tremendous athlete. He's coming over and is going to help us. Johnny Stevens, as I mentioned, is going to still play corner for us. On the line of scrimmage, our returning starter at defensive end is a guy named Jake Schmitz. Jake is kind of a freakishly good athlete, very strong, can run, can be a difference maker in a game. And it's just getting him to do what he's supposed to do all the time. And then up front, the other two defensive linemen is going to kind of be a rotation. Again, we're not, with only having 40-some guys on the roster and, less than half of them being juniors and seniors, it's going to kind of be by committee. And the truth is we're probably going to have to play some young guys that aren't quite ready to get on the field, but they're going to have to play for us. But our defense coordinator, Elijah Martinez, does an outstanding job. Last year, I don't think we played one game with the same starting 11 on defense. And, we were ready to play every week. So he does a great job getting the most out of those guys and coming up with a game plan specific for the team we're playing.
Yep, and then just two more questions. Just in terms of fellowship, they've got that running back C.J. Givers going into his sophomore year. He had a ton of home run plays last year. How do you feel about that, just the defense being able to limit those big plays?
Well, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, they're a more of a throwback type of an offense. They're going to get the ball to him a lot. And, he's the type of back that he only needs a small crease and he could go. And so if you're solely committed to stopping the run, that's great. But they're good enough at their skill positions to get in one-on-one matchups and hit a home run throw on you. So it is kind of, you got to focus on one, but you can't give up the other. Fellowship obviously had a great season last year, went way deep in the playoffs. They got a lot of kids coming back. It's a challenge. I mean, them and really all of our non-region games are going to be a real big challenge, especially with having a younger team. And, the reality is we're going to go into each one with the plan of winning each game. But, the way that the Georgia High School Association is set up, it really comes down just to your region schedule. So every game we play, our thought process is it making us better for the region? And, giving us an opportunity to not only compete for the region championship, but to, get past the first or second round in the playoffs.
Yep, and then last question. Let's talk a little bit about the region. Kings Ridge, they don't compete in the region schedule, but it's going to be Mount Vernon. They've been really impressive the last several seasons. I'm sure they're going to come out improved. Whitfield Academy, great team right there. And then St. Francis, who they might look a little different this year. I think some of their offensive linemen transferred out, but I mean that's going to be a really big region battle. So, what are the goals just getting out of this region?
Well, I think last year our region, top to bottom, was pretty good. I mean, you looked at the kids that either signed with colleges or got whatever ratings, star ratings. But it is going to look a lot different this year. Whitfield has got a new coach this year, so new system. They've lost some players. I'm sure they've added some as well. St. Francis, as you mentioned, Coach Barden left, is now up at Christian Heritage. They've lost a good number of players, so it's going to look very different. I really feel like Mount Vernon is the team to beat in our region. Coach Dabbs over there does a phenomenal job. Great offensive mind. Even when they're down, they're still really good, and he finds ways to hurt you. But I think they're probably the team to beat in the region, and the other three schools are going to kind of be chasing them. So that goes back to what I was saying. Our non-region schedule has got to get us prepared to play those three teams.
Absolutely. And then, yeah, you look at how your region did in the playoffs last year. I mean, it was outstanding. Mount Vernon had that tough matchup against, I think, was it Prince Avenue?
Prince Avenue.
First round? Yeah. Otherwise, and then, Whitfield had that close loss to Social Circle. So all competitive football teams. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck at starting school back up, the scrimmage, and then we'll see you at the luncheon on Monday, and then on Tuesday, and then when things kick off in a few short days.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
You bet. Go Patriots. All right, so there you have it. They will be playing Fellowship Christian on Friday of this year's Corky, Kell, Dave Hunter Classic. I think that'll be a great afternoon contest. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Mount Pisgah got the win last year, ended up making a big quarterfinal run. Fellowship, they're in Class 2A. They lost that one. It was really close, but then they had another phenomenal season, made it all the way to the semifinals. So two big-time playoff programs, a lot of new names to watch on Mount Pisgah's side, replacing some of those seniors. They got Ian White coming in from Marist, a 4.38 GPA athlete. He's got a bright future and big shoes to fill, and that'll be an exciting debut for him for sure. But let's go ahead and take a quick break and thank our sponsor, NFHS Network. All right, welcome back. And then reminder, they'll be scrimmaging Providence Christian a week from Friday because they start school kind of after. Most of the scrimmages this week will be Cobb County and most of Gwinnett because they were the first ones to start up. Fulton County started a week later. That's why we'll have the big Milton Gainesville one the following week. And Mount Pisgah, Providence, that'd be an outstanding baseball matchup and basketball matchup as well. Let's see if Jordan, you see him up there? Okay. Hey, Jordan, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. So we just talked to Mount Pisgah, got some insight on them. I think that'll be an exciting matchup.
Yeah.
We'll see where they stand in the rankings heading into the season. Could be a top 10 showdown. I think Fellowship's going to want revenge. They've got a new coach. There's a lot of new coaches on that Pisgah schedule, but I think what was the big takeaway for me is he was talking about how important his scrimmage is going to be because he's got a new quarterback coming in, Ian White transferring in from Marist. So that puts a huge importance on their scrimmage, but what are some other scrimmages that are standing out that you think are going to be really important just for preparing for maybe a big week one matchup for them, or just trying to break in new playmakers?
The Walton Kell game, scrimmage game is going to be a big one tonight. A big Cobb County scrimmage game over there tonight at Raider Valley tonight at 7 p.m. That's going to be a huge matchup for a scrimmage game, getting them ready for week one in the Corky Kell Classic coming up in 2 weeks.
Here's a question about that one. Out of Walton
Yeah.
and Kell, who do you think has the tougher Corky Kell matchup? Is it Walton against Grayson, or is it Kell against Parkview?
I think Walton versus Grayson in the Saturday night cap in Mercedes. Yeah. That stadium's going to be super loud. Everybody from East Cobb's going to be out there in Mercedes-Benz.
Yes, and so I think what's interesting, let's talk about, because all the 4 teams we just mentioned obviously will be in the Corky Kell. Walton, Grayson, Parkview, and Kell.
Yes.
Walton was the only one last year that didn't win. They lost that really close one to Mill Creek. Grayson came out, absolutely dominated. Parkview came out, absolutely dominated, and then Kell came out, had a huge win over Cherokee Bluff. I was thinking about, obviously, the Walton-Grayson matchup. That one's going to be, I think, incredibly competitive, close, tons of athletes.
Yes.
I'm struggling trying to make a prediction on that Kell-Parkview one because I'm just looking at some of Parkview's size. Obviously, everyone wants to talk about the run game. They're going to have Kyer Spain, Maddox, but then they got Mike Matthews, who's been absolutely unguardable. They've got so much physicality, and then they came out last year and just steamrolled their week one contest. So am I crazy for thinking that Parkview, being a 7A Gwinnett County powerhouse, might be too much for Kell week one?
No, I think it's going to be a really great matchup. I have Kell winning the beating Parkview for the first game.
I know, and Kell's had so much excitement, just them winning the basketball state championships for the first time last year. It seemed like, I mean, they really have a lot of momentum going, but then this Parkview team, they win our Corky Kell 7-on-7. They kind of have a chip on their shoulder that they're coming out. Coach Sturdivant, yeah, he's a first-year head coach, but he's also a Parkview alum. He's bringing that Panther pride. He's not going to want to go out there and have a bad outing. And I just think Parkview has a lot to prove. It's a really tough matchup for Kell, who I think is going to have a great season 5A, but you open up against a 7A top 10 team like that, you're going to have to tackle extremely well and find a way to stop that running attack where, I mean, as good as Colin Houck and their passing game was last year, they were able to run for 200 yards pretty much on any opponent.
I agree. I'm just excited to see that Kell Parkview game. I want Kell to come out strong and finish the game out strong and beat Parkview. Show them how good Cobb County football is.
Yep, and I think that's why tonight's scrimmage against Walton is going to show us a lot. Offensively, how does Kell look? Are they able to block guys like Ashton Woods and Wendell Gregory in that aggressive Walton defense? And then offensively, how's Kell look in the trenches? How's Bryce Clavin going to come out? We know they have a great receiving core, good running attack, but I want to see how physical they are up front, and that's going to be the key against Parkview. If they can't physically match that, it's going to be tough to get off the field. What about some other scrimmages this week before we look at the upcoming week that have stood out?
The one that Najee talked about, that scrimmage game.
McEachin and Pebblebrook.
That's going to be a good, the Cobb County scrimmage this week. McEachern, we're going to see them in the Corky Kell in the first game on Saturday, I believe. And I'm excited to see how they're going to do in their scrimmage game tonight.
100%. And I mean, I was looking at some of Najee's preview. He interviewed the coaches. Looks like McEachern in that matchup, they might have an edge with the size and the trenches, but Pebblebrook has all that speed. So, I mean, as athletic and fast as McEachern is and these other teams, I don't think anyone's possessing the type of speed that Pebblebrook's going to have this year. I mean, we talked to Dwight Phillips at the media day. He was saying his goals for this season are 2,000 yards receiving and 20 touchdowns. I mean, if he does that, he's already committed to Georgia, but, I mean, that'd be insane.
Yeah. That would be really insane if he can do that this year.
Yeah, he'd be like, who was it? Was it Stan Gann that had the receiving record?
Stan Gann, I think.
Yeah, and that one got broken last year. I mean, if he puts up a season like that, that'd be insane. All right, let's look at some other ones. Let's see. Yeah, Norcross at Parkview. That will be two Corky teams squaring off in their scrimmage. And then
I'm excited to see what Norcross does tonight in their scrimmage game against Parkview.
Absolutely. And then the following week, there were Peach County and Colquitt County. I think that'll always be exciting.
Two South Georgia schools.
Yeah, two schools that definitely have state championship aspirations. Peach County has Coach Westbrook making his debut after leading Warner Robins to finals after finals.
Yep. The North Springs, Newton County, both schools have new coaches, and they're playing next Friday at North Springs, which should be a really good matchup. Two new head coaches over there at Newton and North Springs.
Yep, that will tell us a lot about those teams. How about you got Central Gwinnett at Seconder. We'll see if Seconder, I mean, they're really going to have to use that one to get ready for their second season. I think Creekview at Cherokee will be interesting. Cherokee is motivated to have a turnaround campaign for sure. And then Hughes at North Gwinnett. That is a big one.
Yeah. Langston Hughes going to have a chip on their shoulder this year, because I know they want to go back to the state championship again this year.
Absolutely. And then I saw one more that stood out, Marist and Jefferson. Who is going to step up for Jefferson this year and give Sammy Brown some help offensively? We all know what he can do. He can play every snap, but someone else is really going to have to step up. So let's just talk real quick, though, about the upcoming luncheon next week. You've been going to these kickoff luncheons. This is the 12th annual one. You've been at a bunch of them. I think just with this year's matchups, all the big-time recruiting news we've seen, all the media talent that's going to be covering Corky Kell, and kind of just the fact that this has really become a established event. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to, and what do you kind of get, like, how do you take away from this event each year, knowing that the season's always right around the corner? Is that when you start to kind of feel that football's back?
I look forward to it because once the pads go on after acclimation week, football season here. I went out to the North Springs practice last week, and I could hear the pads going over there. But I'm excited for the luncheon because we're going to see a lot of great players come. Coach Bruner's going to bring a lot of good players. We're going to see the AJC Super 11 players come. We got them all scattered through Georgia, from the south,
Yep.
from South Georgia all the way up to Athens and all across Atlanta.
That's right. And I've heard the AJC, they might release that list officially over the weekend. If not, it will come out on Monday. But we've obviously seen the list, and as you said, it's very representative of the entire state. Lots of South Georgia kids on there, a good balance of Metro Atlanta. And then back to the luncheon, though, you mentioned just being there before the season with a team like Walton, a team like Kell. It's like you get the sense that you could be surrounded by teams that you're going to be watching that final week of the season playing in the big game. So I think that's what's always exciting about it too. We got teams that have that state championship goal at the top of their minds.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I know Walton wants to make it all the way this year to the state championship, which they can really do this year. I have really good faith in them this year.
Yep, and they made that deep run last year to the quarters. They had, I think, the first 5 years that Bruner was there, every single season was a second-round exit. As good as they had been, they hadn't quite pushed deep into the playoffs. We'll be playing Grayson week 1. And then when we talked to Hunter Teal this week, in terms of the goals, he said it's win the opener, win the region, and win the final game. And then he added another one in there, which I guess is going to be key to winning the region, but they want to beat North Cobb this year, who has actually had their number recently. They've not looked good against them at all.
Yeah. If they can win the game against North Cobb, they can secure. I think they'll have the region locked.
Yeah,
they can beat North
Cobb. If they come out and beat Grayson week 1, I can't imagine what the buzz would be around that. I mean, they would be playing with so much confidence going forward. After that, they might just kind of hit that perfect stride and just start lighting up the scoreboard for 50 points a game.
Hell yeah.
Another big week 1 matchup, though, that Najee was talking about, is actually going to be televised also. What do you think about the Hughes-Carrollton matchup, 7A versus 6A? Who do you think is gonna win that one?
I think Carrollton's gonna win that game.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna. They got Juju Lewis. He's gonna be on Their game's gonna be on ESPN for the Geico kickoff. I think it's gonna be really huge for Carrollton to beat Langston Hughes. They got the top quarterback in. One of the top quarterbacks in the state of Georgia. Carrollton has a good chance. They just need to come out really strong and light up the scoreboard.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right about that. Whoever comes out to a fast start in that game kind of establishes the pace. That is going to be absolutely key. I mean, anytime you let Hughes get a big lead and you have to try to pass your way back into it and become one-dimensional or catch up, they just stop you, and then Prentice Nolan comes back in on offense and throws a 60-yard touchdown. I mean, some of the times where teams were trying to call their ways, like back in the game against Hughes last season, they would end up like sacrificing 30 points just trying to be more aggressive. It's like you have to control the game against them, because once you get desperate, they are just going to absolutely pile it on. So that will be a really interesting matchup. You're going with Carrollton. I got to think about it a little more, but it's hard to bet against Juju. But Hughes, I mean, no one has been able to stop them yet. So we'll see. They do have some new playmakers stepping up, but I think what Najee was saying, Justice Savage is going to be huge for them this year at the running back position. A guy that we were talking about Prentice and their passing attack, but really in a game where you want to run the ball and control it, or a game where you want to be the closer, preserve a lead, and just close it out. I think Justice Savage, he's definitely proven he can be that guy. So a great matchup there.
All right.
What do you think about?
We're gonna have to get some in our game in the Corky Kell of that Carrollton Langston Hughes, because their game's gonna go right up against ours.
Yeah, we'll definitely have that score ticking on our broadcast for sure. And then, what do you think about Gainesville this season? Just what do you predict them going? Do you think they'll have another undefeated regular season? Do you see anyone potentially challenging them? Do you think they're going to be even better this year? I mean, they sure had a lot of confidence when we saw them last week.
I think Gainesville can have another undefeated season. I think they have a really good shot in getting back to the state championship and winning it all.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Jordan, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. We will talk soon, and I look forward to the luncheons this week. That will be exciting coverage.
Yes.
See you there.
See you there.
Awesome. All right. So there you have it. Some big predictions from Jordan right there. Carrollton over Hughes. That would be quite a victory for Juju on his incredible growing resume for sure. You get that win. I think it'd be undeniable on what he's brought to that. They might build a statue of him this season. I mean, Carrollton has been really wanting to get back in that state championship conversation. They were so happy last year with that young team to make it to the finals. And then, I mean, if this buzz and excitement around him continues throughout the season, I mean, you're really going to see something special unfold for sure. But that's it for now. Go to scoreatl.com. We have our daily dives. Today, Seth's going to have his story up. I got to check it out in a sec. And then we'll be back with more coverage, more recruiting news from Najee. And then be sure to follow us on social media. We'll be live streaming the luncheon. The AJC Super 11 is going to be there. We're going to have some exclusive interviews, and then we'll also have our Corky Kell previews posted starting next week. So thank you so much for joining us. Good luck to everyone scrimmaging tonight. We'll see you Monday.